Star Wars Visions, a anime reimagined anthology of stories set in the Star Wars universe. That's basically the easiest way I can describe it. It's 9 episodes on Disney Plus. Some vary from 15 minutes to 17 to 20 to 22 minutes, but they all are different aspects. They're non-canon. They do kind of touch on various characters of the universe, but don't actually involve any of the main characters that we're used to from any of the movies or the comics or the books or the video games. So yeah, let's get into the series, talk about what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and what you should look forward to. So first off, I want to talk about how when I first heard about Star Wars Visions and saw the trailer, I was super excited because my mind instantly went to the DC animated film Batman Ninja, which was basically a anime version of Batman in a basically animated movie setting. And what I liked about that movie was it told a consistent story, but it had different variations, based off the different chapters of the movie. It had different variations in the animation style based off of Japanese anime. It all was very fluid, but each time a new chapter started, a new animation style would take place, and you got to see different aspects of famous Japanese style animations based in the anime universe, or anime genre, I should say. So I really liked that aspect, and I thought, oh, based off of something I've seen with that, that's what I should expect from Star Wars Visions, which is basically the same thing, except instead of being one cohesive story, is basically 9 different stories just set in the same universe. All right, so what did I like about it? Well, first off, I love the animation style. I think that out of all 9 episodes, I thought all of them were great. I think they, the one that sticks out the most to me is the first episode, which is very much set like a Japanese style old Western, which I thought was really cool. And it was mostly in black and white or grayscale, but it didn't need any color other than, the lightsabers were in color. But that's really all it needed. And it was able to still tell a story very effectively. And I think by far it was one of my favorites of all 9 episodes as far as animation style. Very effective. And there were other ones that, kind of varied based off of the tone of the episode. So if it was more serious, you had more distinct lines, more detail. If it was a little bit more lighthearted, they played with more colors. The lines weren't as, they were more softer, to kind of go with the characters they were representing, so that kind of stuff. But it all very much worked. And I think that Star Wars Visions is, if anything, a test palette for something we should be able to see in the future for a Star Wars show being strictly an anime. I think that would work great. So another thing that I liked that the Star Wars Vision stories were all basically unique. There was really no overlap, and there was something different about each one. All had similar tones as far as the consistent story of good versus evil, really, but all of them had different aspects of how it wanted to portray that message or how it wanted to represent its story within the Star Wars universe. And I think because it tried to do that along with the animation style, it made them all distinct. They were all distinct. And I appreciated that very, very much. Now, even if it was one fluid, continual story, I think it probably could still have achieved that because I think Star Wars Visions has done a really good job of creating a interesting set of characters and stories that I personally wouldn't have thought of, and some even are like a play on some other characters. So like, there's even an episode that's kind of a play on Pinocchio, which is a Disney property, but it works very much in the same style of the Star Wars universe, and it just works. And there's even some episodes that you will watch and you're like, this character is a kind of a mesh of other characters. So there's an episode where you'll see where you're kind of looking like, this character kind of reminds me of a Yoda / Emperor style character, like that those two characters were merged. It's a very interesting idea, and it worked. And the writers and creators, they kind of went there, and I think it worked overall. Let's talk about some bad things I didn't like about it. So one of the things I think is you have 9 episodes that are very distinct. They are different tones, and they do kind of touch on the various tones of Japanese anime. So if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, is, you have different scales. You have more serious, action-packed, lighthearted, happy-go-lucky, funny, those kind of things. And I think with Star Wars Visions, the part that probably not so much bothered me, but the part that kept coming to my mind is, does this stuff work in the Star Wars universe? I understand that these are reimaginings, retellings. They're just a different person's perspective of what they think the Star Wars universe should be, right? Okay, that's great and all, but I think when you get down to why fans really like Star Wars and the overall story of this good versus evil and the characters kind of caught in the balance of all that, when you throw in some of the Japanese anime characteristics of some of the shows that are really popular to a lot of anime fans, sometimes I don't think that really translates over very well to Star Wars. So, for instance, I think what works best for the anthology that's released with Visions, like the first episode, for instance, it's a totally different story set in, like I said, Japanese Western time period or setting within the Star Wars universe, but it works because we have a Jedi and a Sith fighting amongst characters within Star Wars. And they look like Star Wars characters that we're familiar with. They talk and act and have weapons like Star Wars characters we're familiar with. And it works, right? We have good versus evil, characters caught in the balance. It works. Then we have stuff like the Pinocchio style one that is really cool, and it's a complete reimagining, but it's very kid-like or too lighthearted. It has a really good message. It is a really cool episode. Do I think it really works though in the Star Wars universe? Probably not. There's also a couple episodes where they get kind of caught up too much in the how do I say it? They get really caught up in these settings and tones and stuff that's, while it is appreciated probably to fans of anime, when it comes to Star Wars fans, I don't think they're really going to care. I think, which leads me up to my next point, is the episodes sometimes, some of them seem to lag a little bit. There's a lot of talking. There's more talking, less action, which is ironic because in one of the episodes it's a Padawan Jedi and his master, and the Padawan is telling the Master Jedi, hey, I thought there'd be more action. It just seems really peaceful and kind of, basically it's calling it dull. And there were some times where you're watching these episodes and you're like, can we get to the action part? More of the story. And I'm not gonna lie, there was parts where I was skipping through some of this, and I was skipping and skipping, and like they were still talking, and I was just like, okay. Some of that worked in some of the episodes where it worked, like there was talking and action, talking and action, talking and action. But there were some times where like y'all are talking way too much, or y'all are dwelling way too much on this other part that no one's really gonna care about. Like I said, in other anime shows, that's what they would do. They would be really much caught up in the emotions of characters. They would be dwelling onto side stories that involve Earth and nature and this and that and elements and stuff like that. When it comes to Star Wars, unless it's directly related to a certain character that has to do with the Jedi or the Sith or the Dark Force or the Light Force, whatever you want to call it, the Force, that stuff doesn't matter to a lot of people, and they're like, what does this got to do with Star Wars? Where is it with Star Wars? So there'll be a couple times where you're watching that and like going, what does this got to do with Star Wars? And I think that's kind of where there's a mismatch, where the Japanese anime style of show and animation doesn't really translate very well for Star Wars. So I did want to go over my top episodes. I had 4 of them. And as far as like ranking them in an order, I think it's going to be episode number 1, episode number 7, episode number 5, and episode number 3. So I had 4 favorite episodes out of the 9. Like I said, all 9 were fairly good. There were a couple, like I said, that were stronger than others, and I think those 4 episodes, the ones I picked, are probably the stronger of the 9. You'll have to let me in the comments below what you think as far as your picks for the strongest episodes if you've watched all 9 episodes of Star Wars Visions. So one thing I want to talk about was, I think that Star Wars Visions, while I did enjoy it and I do appreciate it, I think, like I said in the beginning, it does, I think, set up the framework for what Star Wars could go to next. I think with Star Wars comics, books, video games, stories that we just have not seen maybe on a live action screen or even in like an cartoon animated scene, I think that this has kind of proven that you have an opportunity here to, whether it be in an animation style, or if you just did straight another cartoon animation, maybe not 3D, maybe more of like a DC animated animation style or something. But if you went that route, I think you have a good opportunity where you could tell other stories that we haven't heard or seen before. Even in saying that, even some of the characters and stories that have been set up with Star Wars Visions, I think could be expanded upon, especially like with episode 1, even with episode 7. There are a lot of episodes in here you're going to watch and think the story's over, but there's so much story that could be told. So I think Star Wars Visions kind of proves that there is more life in Star Wars than just the main canon trilogies and stories that we're kind of already used to. So should you watch Star Wars Visions? I did do a post on my community tab and asked, are you going to watch Star Wars Visions? And surprisingly, 43% people said yes, 36% said no, and 21% didn't even know what it was. Which does not, based on 21%, while that doesn't seem like a whole lot, that's quite a bit. That tells me that Star Wars Visions will probably not get the mass appeal it needs to be successful, but 43% is pretty good, but it's only 7% difference to know. So it seems like it's going to be like kind of like a half and half kind of situation almost. I think that Star Wars fans, if you are a diehard Star Wars fan, or even, for me, I'm not like a diehard Star Wars fan, but I am a pretty good Star Wars fan as far as I enjoy all the movies and the content. I enjoyed it. I watched it. I think there'll be people like me out there that are going to watch it. I think for the people that aren't going to watch it, as one person commented, they said, I'm not really into anime, or the animation style just doesn't attract me, or I don't know any of the characters, they don't appeal to me. So I think just going off of brand recognition alone may not be strong enough for Star Wars Visions to be successful, which is, something Disney should take into account. But also, I think that's why we don't get as much new Star Wars content as we need, because fans are so locked in on the canon characters that we're used to. So something to think about. But should you watch Star Wars Visions? I think you should. If you're, again, either a diehard Star Wars fan or even a casual Star Wars fan, I think you'll enjoy it and appreciate it. I think it'll get your mind thinking, and hopefully even get you to start branching out, if you haven't already, to other forms of Star Wars content. Like I said, comic books. There's tons of comic books out there that tell different stories, either of the canon characters or of non-canon characters. There's books. There's video games. I mean, there's probably short stories. There's tons of stuff out there. There's probably audiobooks or even just straight audio tales that are all different aspects of the Star Wars universe that we haven't touched yet, as far as like a mainstream, mass appeal that Disney Plus can utilize, or Disney can utilize, or even Lucasfilm can utilize. So if I had to give Star Wars Visions a rating as far as an overall season for season 1, I would give it 3 out of 5. Given that I enjoyed all of 9 episodes, but given that only 4 episodes I really, really enjoyed and really stick out in my mind, that's kind of a mixed bag. 4 out of 9 is not that great. So I think overall, like I said, Star Wars Visions is a really cool concept, and I think it's successful in a lot of ways. I think, again, what hinders it is that the animation style works great, but the anime characteristics about different types of anime, I don't think all those really translate over to Star Wars. And I think because that some of those stories aren't as strong and won't appeal as much to Star Wars fans. And that's it for my review of Star Wars Vision Season 1. If you've seen it, let me know in the comments what you think about it. What were your favorite episodes? I'd love to hear them down in the comments below. And that's it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed that like button, if you want more like this one, subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys next time on the Mashup.